Right, Shalom, I'll give it all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemukah HaKodesh. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone and the honorship of us to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Above everybody are coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shabbat Shemukah HaKodesh. Giving all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemukah HaKodesh. Okay, this is going to be a relatively quick video based upon the article that you can see here in front of us, based on the agendas of the elite banking families, which, you know, they put the facade on of trying to help the people. They put the facade on of trying to so-called save the planet, and you can see now it's becoming more and more nefarious, and it's becoming more and more obvious that ultimately, when they're talking about cutting carbon tax, they're talking about cutting you off from existence. And you know, the Most High has placed man upon earth for thousands of years, and pretty much man's been able to have cattle, right? Think about the Native American Indians. They had millions upon millions of cattle out there within the Americas, and nobody ever said, nobody ever thought that that was a terrible thing. As a matter of fact, when we read about the riches of the forefathers, namely Abraham, we read about his gold, we read about silver that he had, but most importantly, you read about how, you know, one of the greatest pieces of wealth that he had was, or one of the greatest pieces of wealth that he had was the cattle that the Most High bestowed upon him. You know, lambs, sheep, goat, cows, which are all a symbol of wealth and barter. Okay, prior to the Federal Reserve notes and prior to the Bank of England notes, you had what? You had barter, right? And through the barter system, you was able to do trade. So you could have a particular man do a job for you, and you give him, salt was salary at some point, and that's where you get that word salary, okay? As in saline, salary, salt, you know, salt has the same derivative word in salt. And salt was important because literally salt, you know, preserved meat and obviously it flavored stuff. So that was a very essential part of livelihood, you know, the salt mines. So you had a day's salt, okay, a day's salary, right? You know, I believe you actually got salt as a reward sometimes. I'm not 100% sure on that, right? I'm sure somebody can put it on the comment board, but I'm pretty sure the saying goes you actually got, you know, a bag of salt, so to speak, because it was that valuable in those times. So I say all of that to say this: our forefathers had gold, silver, right, and other forms of barter, and it was never a problem within the earth. As soon as you see Esau come onto this planet, you've seen basically the world be destroyed, and that's spoken about within the book of Isaiah, the 24th chapter. Behold, the earth languisheth before the inhabitants thereof. What other scriptures come to mind? Wherever Esau goes, the border of iniquity follows, because ultimately they've gone throughout the four corners of the earth with their industrial revolution, and now they're basically saying, oh no, by the way, the industrial revolution that we've had, oh yeah, that was bad, by the way. Okay, now that they've obtained their power and their superiority over the nations via their military complex. See, they never speak about the military complex, of which one of the most polluting entities of this whole empire is their military. All right, I mean, think about just the nuclear weapons, man. How much time it takes to get those nuclear weapons made, how much resources goes into making those nuclear weapons, how much so-called CO2 goes into making those nuclear weapons. All right, and not only that, when they have the nuclear power stations, how much goes into how much waste materials, nuclear waste materials, comes off of the back of that. See, the Most High had slime. I believe the word is slime there. When you go back into the word within the scriptures, it actually goes back onto this oil. See, this oil, what they call the petrol and all of that, that's always been on the earth. The Most High gave that to man, for us to create particular things. Obviously, we were supposed to use it for righteous things. Okay, we wasn't supposed to abuse it. You can take anything and abuse it. That's the nature of the red Hebrew Edomite Esau, right? He's taken something and he's absolutely abused it. Okay, but continuing with the rest of the video, via the so-called industrial revolution, they destroyed the earth. Okay, right? But one of the most polluting things on the earth is the Esau's military. They'll never speak about it. Okay, they'll never speak about the Edomite military. Right? They'll never speak about that. Right? They'll never speak about big industry. and they'll never speak about these particular things, these facets of the kingdom that's beneficial to their agenda. They'll never speak about that. But when it comes down to, you know, reducing the population, of which they've always told you, right? We've always told you that this was always the end goal. The end goal was always to have the population down to a so-called acceptable number according to their logic, right? So when you see CO2 and cutting down CO2 and they're cutting down the food, well, what are people gonna eat? Okay, the Most High created cattle to be eaten, of which we might not make it that far. We might not make it that far. Okay, certainly we hope not to make it that far because of all the headache and the suffering that we have to go through. You gotta find a reason, right? Why you gotta get through these things, and ultimately you come down to, well, we're in this truth, and you know we gotta take care of our business, we gotta take care of our families and all of that. But this kingdom is a headache, man. This kingdom is a headache. Demons jump on people, right? You got so-called trusted parties, and demons jump on them, and that really messes your mind up when you got somebody that's like supposed to be dependable. You know, that really hurts your spirit, man. Okay, when you have a particular, you know, vibe or something like that, and that gives you a certain amount of peace. That could be your woman, that could be your kids, that could be your mother, all right? But you know, it's necessary to remember that these people are plugged in. Okay, it's necessary to remember these people are plugged in, and in being plugged in, yeah, the Most High could have it to where the vast majority of the time they're cool, but demons could jump on anybody, man. So this kingdom's really a headache, right? This kingdom's really a headache. The Most High could really save us from this kingdom before the year 2030, when Esau's up trying to have this whole agenda 2030 sussed out and all of that, and have meat banned. Okay, I mean, what other heathen has ever thought to ban meat? What the hell is this guy talking about, man? What the hell is this guy talking about? Now he wants to tax, you know, cow farmers 100 euros a year, right? 100 euros a year. That's in Denmark right now, but obviously we know they use particular places to get the ball rolling, and then by the time the ball's rolling, it's too late to stop. Okay, by the time the ball's rolling, it's too late to stop. So they use Denmark here. It says here, the world's first emission tax on agriculture will require farmers to pay for greenhouse gases polluted from their livestock. Like farmers in Denmark will have to pay a planet heating pollutant, and where does the money go? Right, it doesn't go back into the system to help the people, right? To find out other ways of making food. That's not what happens. That's not what happens. So now here it is. You're already on small margins. Okay, you're already on small margins. But this is kind of like a reality check for the guys that want to stay in this kingdom. Here it is. The farmers are already on small margins. Now they're having to pay a tax for making food. So what are the people going to eat? What are the people gonna eat? I mean, just off of the back of this, you can have all types of famines, man. Right? The agreement reached Monday night after months of negotiation, which there was no negotiation. They was always going for this, man. Right? The slowdown in the global production, of which, you know, this bird flu thing, that they might use that as well as part of slowing down, right, the global food and the global production of goods. Right? The days of going out there and buying a fancy German car are over, man. Right? Because you have a so-called middle-class income. That's a thing of the past, right? Because Esau slowed down the industry. I mean, I've seen this firsthand. Okay, I've seen this firsthand, how Esau basically killed off the middle class. I've seen that, man. Just with the interest rates, the middle class has been eroded. All right. So I try to read this, but I mean, you can see it for yourself here. Pretty much they reached an agreement and introduced a tax for $14 a ton of greenhouse gases, and I think it translates to about $100, £100 or 100 euros a year. I can't exactly remember the amount of money, but even if it was a small number, let's say it was a small number, they still got a precedence for it. Even let's say, even if we say, okay, the farmers, right, if they sell the cow for a certain amount of money, the percentages and this, that, and the third, it still works out if they increase their prices by this percentage and blah 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 blah, and people will still pay for it. Yeah, but they've set up a precedence to tax your food. They've set up a precedence for you basically not being able to eat. Like, what are the people going to eat? What are we supposed to eat? Bean burgers? That's supposed to support the whole food economy. That's not going to work out, man. Which, when you look at I'd imagine, I'm just speaking theoretically here, but I'd imagine if you're a dairy farmer and you're a beef farmer, I'd imagine the margins are higher than selling the margins are going to be higher than selling a bag of peas or something like that. I'd imagine that, because what you see is places like New Zealand, right? I know there's dairy farms out here within the UK and meat farms out here within the UK, and so-called developed countries, they tend to produce the meat. Now, I don't know if that's just a proximity thing. I don't know if that's just because meat, you know, obviously if you put it in a fridge, you can't put it on a flight. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, maybe that's just the thing that it is. But typically you see them, you know, green produce coming from them poorer countries. So, you know, I'd imagine the margin on meat is quite high. So if you're already squeezing that margin over there and the farmers had to leave that business, well, guess what? Right? That whole industry is done. It's finished. Okay? It's finished. Right? Let's say you have a famine that comes off of the back of this. Well, guess what? That's another way of looking at it, because the scripture talks about there was going to be a great famine. See, a famine doesn't necessarily mean the rains don't come, especially within Esau society. A famine could mean that they impose a lockdown, a curfew, right? That means basically freight doesn't move. A a famine could basically mean that Esau sets up a situation where pretty much the farmers are not incentivized to farm. I mean, what culture and what civilizations penalizes the farmers, man? That's a civilization that's on the way out. And this is why the scripture says within the book of Job, how the Most High set up a trap for the red Hebrew Edomite Esau. And, you know, he basically thinks that he's the one that's in control of the trap. But really, the Most High setting the trap for himself. Okay? The Most High setting the trap for himself. When we look back within the kingdom, when we look at what Esau has been able to do and what he's done, it's like, yo, how you kill off all your own farmers? That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. And you can say, yeah, they got their own farmers, whoop-de-whoop. But how do you know now your farms, right, that you have, your so-called elite banking farms, how do you know that you're going to be able to preserve those? See how the Most High can do it? The Most High can have it to where, all right, you don't have the famines in a traditional sense, you know, with the farmers that they tax or whatever, but you could really have a blasting, right, disease, right? There's disease that, you know, there's disease that affects plants, there's disease that affects agriculture, there's disease that affects farms. That could happen onto them elite banking family farms. Now nobody's got food, not even the elites. You see how the Most High can do it, man. Right? Anyways, you know, I said a whole bunch, but pretty much you can see now, yeah, man, we're in that time. All right, it's gonna get harder and harder, man. So like I say, I'm gonna say, oh, praise, don't care about you, my share about you, more that's the bonus, don't care about the great meal, so on your brothers will be pushing these truth and sincerity. Shalom.